Says I'm live. Hi there and welcome. Hi there and welcome to this day in history for February 7th. February 7th is the 38th day of the year in the Gregorian calendar, with 327 days remaining to the end of the year, or 328 in leap years. Today's word is contrition. Contrition is a noun that means sincere penitence or remorse, the state of being contrite, a feeling of responsibility for wrongdoing. I'd like to take a moment to mention that links to my research are included in the show notes. Ask you to go ahead and click that like button. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Feel free to share this video with others. You can do that with the link in your email, messaging, or social media. Let's see where we are now. Share. Oh, yes, there's also a link in the show notes to my This Day in History playlist. I'll put a link up there in the iCards once the live is done and we go to replay. And I think we also have an episode from last year on this day that I'll link up there. Covers some of the same topics with a little bit different way and different topics. I try not to just clone one year after the other, kind of touch on different things, because a lot of things happen in a day and a lot of years, a lot of material to cover. So anyway, those will all be linked up in the corner there. And with that, we're going to start with, here's a name I'm not quite sure how to pronounce, but I'm going to take a run at it. Edward of Caernarvon, Caernarvon, Edward of Caernarvon. He was later on King Edward II of England. He became the first English Prince of Wales on February 7th, 1301. 1301, a long time ago. The 11th Amendment to the United States Constitution was ratified on February 7, 1795. This one restricts the ability of individuals to bring suit against states in federal court. This is the birthday of John Deere, the green tractor guy, John Deere, born February 7, 1804. He was an American blacksmith and businessman, it doesn't have a D in front of it, Deere and Company. He founded Deere and Company, which became one of the largest leading agricultural and construction equipment manufacturers in the world. Mr. Deere lived to the age of 82. This is the birthday of Charles Dickens, born February 7th, 1812. He wrote a number of books, of course, but I imagine you'll best remember him from the one called A Christmas Carol. Charles Dickens lived to the age of 58. I mentioned in last year's episode for February 7th about the New Madrid earthquakes. They might pronounce it New Madrid or New Madrid. Anyway, that's in Missouri, and they had a swarm of pretty big earthquakes in 1812. The fact that the area was still mostly rural, didn't have a lot of multi-story buildings, kept the death toll from being what it sure could have been. The Mississippi River actually ran backwards for several hours in what's called a fluvial tsunami. Fluvial, of course, relates to river. We visited there a few years ago, Mr. Bowers and I, and he took great delight in letting me know that wasn't my fault. New Madrid fault. It wasn't my fault. What a card. This is the birthday of Laura Ingalls Wilder, born February 7th, 1867. She wrote the Little House on the Prairie books. She wrote other things too. And she lived to the age of 90. Good day for writers' birthdays. This is the birthday of Sinclair Lewis, born February 7th, 1885. He wrote novels and short stories and lived to the age of 65. The Cripple Creek Miners Strike, led by the Western Federation of Miners, began in Cripple Creek, Colorado on February 7th, 1894. That turned out to be a pretty big deal. Started a 5-month strike led by the Western Federation of Miners. That whole mining operation had begun with the discovery of gold in the area, and over the next couple years, once gold was discovered, a bunch of mines were open, over 150 mines. And then silver miners started showing up in addition to the gold miners. And there was so many of them there that wages were lowered, and mine owners wanted the miners to work 10 hours instead of 8. And the daily wage was $3 a day at the time. Now remember, those are in 1894 dollars. $3 a day. So they were working 8 hours, and the mine owners wanted them to work 10 hours. And but they didn't want to pay them any more for it. So the miners weren't having it, and they called a strike. The sheriff asked the governor to send the state militia, and he did. And the general in charge of the militia went to talk to the strikers, and he found things to be not as volatile as he'd been led to believe. And so the troops left. The mine owners closed the mines. The sheriff arrested 21 men, including the mayor and the town marshal. Good grief. He sent them all to Colorado Springs to be tried, but every blessed one of them was found not guilty of whatever it was they'd been charged with. The strike did turn violent, but eventually the miners won out in that they didn't have to work 10 hours a day. They could stay with their 8-hour schedule. This is the birthday of musician, singer, songwriter Garth Brooks, born February 7th, 1962. He turns 59 in 2021. I believe he is from Yukon, Oklahoma, which is about 5 miles north of where I used to live before I came to Fort Worth. This is the birthday of comedian Eddie Izzard, born February 7th, 1962. Funny guy. What a funny name, too. He also turns 59 in 2021. And the birthday of comedian Chris Rock, born February 7th, 1965. He turns 61 in 2021. And let's see, where's my cursor? Right there. All righty. Well, that's all I have for you today. Hope you learned something you didn't know before. I know I sure did. Always do. Again, links to my research are in the show notes, and I'll put those links up in the iCards there. What else? All righty. Well, I guess that's about it. So thank you for that like. Who's watching live? Y'all have a beautiful day and come back tomorrow. We'll do this again. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.